Hello, Virgo. Um, your relationship with work is about to be completely revolutionized in ways your practical Virgo mind can barely comprehend right now, isn't it? Not vague fantasy about maybe someday retiring, but actual concrete pathway opening up where traditional employment becomes optional rather than mandatory, where you could genuinely choose to never trade time for money again because passive income, strategic investments, or windfall are creating financial security that doesn't require your constant labor. And the wildest part is this isn't reckless dreaming. This is your meticulously organized life finally paying dividends from all those years you spent planning, saving, optimizing, and refusing to make impulsive financial decisions that would have felt good temporarily but cost you this exact opportunity. Let me share what's crystallizing in the abundance liberation frequencies surrounding your Virgo existence right now. The first absolutely thrilling thing breaking through is your careful financial management is about to be rewarded exponentially. You're probably about to discover that every budget you created, every unnecessary expense you eliminated, every retirement contribution you made, even when it was uncomfortable, all of that Virgo discipline is compounding into freedom. You might be approaching a moment where your savings, investments, or passive income streams hit critical mass, where they generate enough to cover your living expenses, and experiencing your spreadsheets, proving that yes, the math works, yes, you could actually stop working is going to satisfy your analytical mind in ways that pure emotion never could. Because this isn't hope, this is data confirming that soft life is mathematically viable for you specifically. Here's the extraordinary reality unfolding for you. Your skills are about to generate income without requiring your full time presence. You're probably discovering or about to discover that expertise you've been building for years can be packaged, automated, or licensed in ways that pay you repeatedly, creating courses that sell while you sleep, consulting arrangements that require minimal hours, systems you built that run without you, royalties or residuals from work you did once that keeps generating revenue. You might be realizing that your Virgo attention to detail created assets with enduring value, and that shift from trading hours for dollars to earning from intellectual property or automated systems is what makes never working again actually possible, because you're not just living off savings, you're receiving ongoing income that doesn't consume your time. What's igniting in the financial freedom architecture is opportunity presenting itself that's scaled bigger than your current job. You're probably encountering or about to encounter offer, partnership, or venture that would pay you more for less time consulting contract with substantial fee structure, equity opportunity with real upside, project-based work that pays what you currently make annually but only requires few months of effort. And as Virgo who calculates everything, you're going to recognize immediately that accepting this opportunity fundamentally changes your economics. You might be doing the math and realizing that one strategic yes could replace years of traditional employment, and that efficiency, that leverage, is exactly the kind of intelligent optimization your Virgo nature has been preparing you to recognize and execute on. This reflection invites you to consider whether your perfectionism has been secretly preparing you for this exact moment, and whether all those years you spent building expertise, documenting processes, and creating systems that others thought was excessive was actually you building assets that are now worth enough to buy your freedom from conventional work. You're probably about to experience validation that living below your means was brilliant strategy. You might be realizing that while others were upgrading lifestyles with every raise, you were maintaining manageable expenses and investing the difference. And that gap between what you earn and what you need is your freedom fund. You could be calculating that your careful lifestyle means you need far less passive income to sustain yourself than someone with inflated expenses. And recognizing that your Virgo frugality wasn't deprivation, it was down payment on never having to work for money again is going to make every sacrifice feel worth it because they were investments in your future. Autonomy. What's also crystallizing is the soft life you're entering isn't lazy, it's intentional. You're probably going to discover that not working at job doesn't mean doing nothing, but rather having complete control over how you spend your time. And as Virgo who finds purpose in meaningful activity, you're going to fill your days with projects you choose. You might be planning to volunteer for causes you care about, create things without commercial pressure, study subjects that fascinate you, help people who need your skills but can't afford market rates is less than has hone. Zero hash is greater than, and that freedom to contribute based on what matters to you rather than what pays is the real luxury, the actual soft life, where your time belongs to you and you can allocate it according to your values rather than your bills. What's particularly beautiful about what I'm witnessing is you're approaching financial independence earlier than you expected. You're probably discovering that conservative projections you made about when you could retire were too pessimistic, that investments performed better, opportunities materialized faster, expenses stayed lower than your worst case scenarios anticipated, you might be ahead of schedule. And that pleasant surprise of realizing you don't have to wait another decade or two to exit traditional employment is going to feel like getting years of your life back, like universe giving you time that you thought was already allocated to grinding. You're probably going to experience people questioning your decision. You might encounter skepticism from family who think you're being irresponsible, friends who can't understand how you're pulling this off, colleagues who are threatened by your escape from system they're still trapped in. And as Virgo, who has definitely run the numbers, you're going to know your decision is sound even if others don't understand it. You could be learning to trust your own analysis, to stop seeking approval from people who haven't done the work you've done or made the sacrifices you've made, and protecting your choice from other people's fear based projections is going to be practice in valuing your own judgment over popular opinion. What's threading through the soft life activation is your health is about to improve dramatically. You're probably going to experience body recovering from years of work, stress, sleep schedule, normalizing when you're not forcing yourself awake with alarms. chronic tension releasing when you're not grinding through tasks you hate, energy returning when you're not depleted by office politics and pointless meetings. And as Virgo, who's probably been pushing through discomfort for years, finally giving yourself permission to rest is going to reveal just how exhausted you actually were. You might discover ailments you thought were permanent disappearing once work stress is removed, and recognizing that trading health for paycheck was costing more than you realized is going to make soft life feel not just financially smart, but medically necessary. This reflection invites you to consider how much of your physical discomfort has been direct result of work stress, and whether your body has been trying to tell you for years that you needed to change your relationship with labor, but you were too focused on being responsible to listen to signals that you were harming yourself. You're probably about to experience creative renaissance. You might be discovering interests and talents that have been dormant because you were too tired from work to pursue them. And having time and energy to actually engage with art, music, writing, building, gardening, or whatever brings you joy is going to reconnect you with parts of yourself that got sacrificed to career. You could be becoming more yourself, and that integration of who you are when you're not performing productivity is going to make you more interesting, more fulfilled, more alive than you've been in years. What's also combusting is your relationships are going to improve. You're probably going to have capacity for friendships and family connections that work schedule didn't allow, being available for spontaneous visits, having energy for actual conversations instead of just exhausted commiseration, being present rather than mentally consumed by work problems. You might be discovering what it's like to be good friend, attentive partner, available family member. And those relationship dividends from having your time back are going to enrich your life in ways money couldn't buy, because the resource that was most scarce, your attention and presence, is now abundant. The financial freedom patterns suggest you're going to need to actively manage your soft life to avoid boredom. You're probably going to discover that unlimited free time requires more structure than you anticipated. And as Virgo, who thrives on organization, you're going to need to create routines and commitments that give shape to your days. You might be building schedule for yourself that's more intentional than any job ever required, choosing what to do when rather than having those choices made for you, and learning to self direct without external accountability is going to be an adjustment that requires you to know yourself well enough to design life that actually suits you. What's significant is you're going to become inspiration to other Virgos who think financial freedom is impossible. You're probably going to be example proving that practical, analytical people can absolutely achieve soft life, that you don't have to be entrepreneur or trust fund kid, that methodical saving and strategic planning actually works. You might become person others seek advice from, and deciding how generous to be with your knowledge, whether to mentor people on path you took or protect your strategies, is going to require you to balance Virgo impulse to help with recognition that not everyone who asks for advice is willing to do the work that advice requires. This reflection invites you to consider whether part of your purpose is demonstrating that there's methodical, achievable path to financial independence, and whether sharing your process helps others while also reinforcing your own gratitude for having executed plan that many people just dream about. Um, you're probably going to need to address identity shift. You might struggle with question of who you are when you're not defined by your job, when you can't introduce yourself with career title. And as Virgo, whose work has been significant part of your identity, you're going to have to consciously construct a sense of self that's based on values and interests rather than professional role. You could be discovering that you're more than your productivity and learning to value yourself for who you are rather than what you accomplish is going to be psychological work that's as important as the financial work that made soft life possible. What I'm witnessing in the liberation timelines is you're going to take calculated approach to transitioning out of work. You're probably not going to quit impulsively. You're going to have detailed plan about final work date, transition period, um, financial cushion beyond minimum. And that measured approach is going to make soft life sustainable rather than stressful because you'll know you planned for contingencies. You might be giving yourself permission to keep working part time or taking consulting projects occasionally and recognizing that financial independence means you can choose to work rather than having to work is freedom. Even if you occasionally choose to stay engaged with professional activities you actually enjoy, the soft life architecture suggests you're going to travel in ways your work schedule never allowed. You're probably going to experience visiting places during off season when they're less crowded, staying longer than typical vacation allows, traveling slow enough to actually experience places rather than just checking them off list, and having flexibility to go where you want when you want without coordinating with employers' blackout dates is going to fundamentally change how you experience the world. You might be planning extended trips month in one location, following seasons to ideal climates, visiting friends and family for weeks instead of rushed weekends. And that spatial freedom is complement to temporal freedom that makes soft life genuinely soft rather than just differently structured stress. So as you approach never having to work again, let yourself actually believe it's real. You're probably still expecting something to go wrong, waiting for market to crash, or unexpected expense to derail the plan is less than #0. 5 hashes greater than. But you've built in margins, you've stress tested scenarios, you've been conservative in projections. Trust your own work. Trust that you planned well enough that, yes, this is actually happening, and you can relax into the reality that you've earned your way out of mandatory employment. Welcome to the soft life. You built this through discipline, not luck, through patience, not privilege, through countless small choices that others thought were too restrictive, but that you recognized as investments in future freedom. This isn't happening to you. You created this. Through years of living below your means, investing consistently, developing valuable skills, and refusing to make financially emotional decisions that would have felt good temporarily but cost you long term. You may never work again in traditional sense. That's real. That's available to you. And what you do with that freedom, whether you rest, create, contribute, explore, or some combination, is entirely your choice now. No boss's approval required. No corporate calendar dictating when you can take time off. Just you and your beautifully organized life and the financial independence you methodically constructed. Your soft life starts now. You've earned it. You've planned for it. You've done everything right. And as Virgo, who probably never fully trusted that hard work would pay off this spectacularly, let yourself enjoy being proven wrong about limitation you thought was permanent. Work is optional now. And that optionality, that power to choose, that freedom to allocate your precious time according to what matters to you, that's everything. Welcome home to yourself. The soft life is waiting. You're ready. Step in.